Today I'm going to show you how to make this mega Miura Ori magic ball. It's not really mega. It has the same number of horizontal folds as the normal ball, but it has 2.5 times the number of vertical folds. I'm going to use the paper in portrait mode in order to increase the size of the folds. We're going to use 4 pieces of A4 paper altogether. If you're using US letter, then you just get 1 extra vertical square. You can either trim this off or just experiment to see what looks good. So just a word on paper quality. Try to find paper which is the same thickness as normal printing paper but a bit stiffer so it can hold the folds. I'll show you later the difference this makes. We're going to start by measuring out the verticals. Fold the paper in half horizontally. This will become the 7th horizontal in the final grid line pattern. Now fold a diagonal to that grid line. Try creasing this as little as possible, just a little mark on the very end. Repeat on the other side. To increase the accuracy, put some markers on that middle line as well. Just the tiniest of creases. Now fold up to those markers. This will mark out the 4th grid line. Fold up to the 4th grid line to get the 2nd grid line. Now fold diagonals from the 2nd grid line. Again, just mark lightly. Use this sort of crimping fold to mark out the sides. Now crease some diagonals from the 4th grid line. Now fold up from the 4th grid line up to the markers for the 8th grid line to get the 6th grid line. Fold up from the 6th grid line to the markers for the 10th grid line to get the 8th grid line. For the 10th grid line, just fold at the 6th and the 8th grid lines and line up the 10th with the 6th grid line. Now divide all those grid lines into 2. For an A4 sheet, we can fit in one more grid line. Lightly crease the diagonal from the third grid line to mark out the 11th grid line positions. Now crease the 11th grid line. Trim off the excess. To do the horizontals, we'll use a method which doesn't require doing the diagonal markers. The folds here have to be one more than a corresponding grid line in the final grid line pattern. Fold down from the top, which is 16, to the halfway mark, which is 8. This will give us 12, which is one more than the corresponding grid line number 11. Fold from the top down to 12. This will give us 14, which is where we need to make the cut to leave us with 7 squares. Now it's not possible to fold up from the bottom using normal folds to get the 1 and the 2. So just fold in half and match the bottom to the top. Match both where the very end is and where the crease is. Now fold from the bottom up to the 12 crease. This will give us 6, which will become 5 in the grid line pattern. Now fold up from the 6 up to the 12. This will give us 9, which will become 8 in the grid line pattern. Now we can cut it off at 14 to leave us with 7 squares. Fold both end pieces in half to leave us with 6 squares. The end pieces can be folded towards the front. Now we can fold normally as before. Fold from the bottom up to the 8 to get 4. Fold up to the 4 to get 2. Do the same from the other side. Fold from the bottom up to 11 to get 5.5. Repeat from the other side. Find the 5 and 7 marks. They will be on the outside of the center section, which is between 5.5 and 6.5. Fold up from both ends to 5 and 7 to get 2.5 and 3.5. Now unfold the end flaps. This changes the 2.5 to 3.5. Fold up from the ends to 3.5 to get 1.75. That completes the horizontal grid lines. Now fold all the vertical grid lines into half again. Now let's start putting in the 1-in-1 diagonals. We'll use the crimping method again. Fold at the crease on top of the first row of squares. Crease at the second vertical grid line. Bring the vertical and horizontals together and then crease for one square on both sides. Repeat for the rest of the row. While we're doing this, let's talk about what we did with the grid lines. By cutting all the verticals in half, we changed the 1-in-1 gradients to 2-in-1 gradients, and the 1-in-2 gradients to 1-in-1 gradients. Now, the shallower the gradient, the steeper the curve. So we're going to use the 1-in-1 gradients as mountain folds and the 2-in-1 gradients as valley folds. When we collapse it, we'll be doing it from the other side. Repeat on the next row of squares. The total curve will be just a bit less than the normal Miura Ori ball. The difference between the 2-in-1 gradient and the 1-in-1 gradient is the same as the difference between the 1-in-1 gradient and the 1-in-2 gradient, because a 1-in-2 gradient plus a 2-in-1 gradient equals 90 degrees, and so 45 degrees is halfway in between. We have 6 pairs of matching 1-in-1 gradient and 2-in-1 gradient diagonals. Their curve is the same. And then we replaced an extra 1-in-1 gradient valley fold with a 2-in-1 gradient valley fold. So that's going to bend back a bit less. But then the end folds change from 1-in-4 gradients to 1-in-2 gradients. This makes it curve a bit less. Continue to the next line of squares. Repeat another 3 times. Now let's start folding the 2-in-1 gradient diagonals. Fold the V so they're pointing in the same direction as the 1-in-1 folds. We're folding these as mountain folds, but when we collapse it from the other side, they'll become valley folds. It may be a bit easier if you recrease the verticals and horizontals so you get a bit of a corner to fold to. Repeat to the end of the row. Repeat on the next row. Now repeat on the rest of the rows. Now we're ready to start collapsing. Turn the paper over so that the 1-in-1 diagonals are mountain folds. Make all the odd verticals mountain folds. Run that mountain fold vertical up to the first mountain fold 1 in 1 diagonal. Gather the next vertical as well, and then let the first pair of 1 in 1 mountain folds and the first pair of 2 in 1 valley folds sync. The vertical changes into a valley fold, then back into a mountain fold. Keep going to the end of the row. Give it a good squeeze at the end. Now repeat on another 5 pairs of rows. Open up the end and fold the 1 in 2 diagonal mountain folds so that you can sync these together with the last row of 2 in 1 valley folds. Now the final collapse on this end. Open up the other end and fold the 1 in 2 diagonals. Now the final collapse. You'll need to reverse the ends of the verticals. That's one piece completed. Here's one I made before with normal printer paper. You can see how it's a lot looser. I'm just going to use this piece to demonstrate how to glue the pieces together. Make sure the diagonals of both pieces are pointing in the same direction. Put glue on top of one full square of one section and on the underneath of the other section. Overlap them and press together, aligning the creases. Leave it to dry for a few minutes. Now recollapse. I left this to dry for far too long, so now it's a bit tough, but you will get the drift. Redo all the creases and then start folding together. Okay, so I gave up and had to finish the collapse off camera. Here's what it looks like when it's recollapsed. When you get all the pieces glued together, turn it inside out so then you can press them firmly. The ball is complete.